Transiting Saturn forming an exact conjunction with the natal sun represents the ultimate, redefining crucible of personal identity, vital energy, and life purpose. Occurring only once every 29.5 years, this conjunction, 0°/circ, forces an unyielding, comprehensive structural audit of the core ego. In the archetypal architecture of astrology, the sun is the solar core of the psyche. It represents your vital life force, your central identity, your visibility, and the radiant focus of your conscious will. Saturn, conversely, is the cold reality principle, representing time, absolute strategy, discipline, boundaries, and the structural parameters of the material plane. When these two antithetical forces collide in a conjunction, Saturn steps directly in front of your solar engine, casting a cool, sobering shadow over your entire life expression. It is a cosmic performance review that demands total emotional sobriety, stripping away all superficial vanity, naive optimism, and external validation. Every ambition you have pursued, every role you have played, and every structure you have built is subjected to an intense pressure test. What is authentic, disciplined, and genuinely competent is crystallized into permanent authority. What is hollow, performative, or maintained out of psychological avoidance is ruthlessly crushed, forcing a root-level consolidation of your absolute personal sovereignty. To fully comprehend the deep, psychological mechanics of this transit, one must analyze how it fundamentally restructures your cognitive architecture and alters your relationship with energy, time, and exposure. Under standard conditions, the sun seeks to radiate outward, to claim space, and to seek validation from its environment. When Saturn conjoins the sun, this outward radiation is entirely contained, redirected inward, and put to work. You experience a profound internal cooling system. The reactive, emotional noise and frantic external striving that often exhaust the spirit are entirely silenced, replaced by an extraordinary, cold clarity and an unyielding capacity for strategic detachment. You develop an acute, visceral awareness of the finite nature of your vital reserves and your time on this planet. The illusion that you can endlessly scatter your focus, tolerate draining environments, or appease the uninvited curiosity of low-value social dynamics is permanently shattered. This realization does not trigger a panic, instead, it installs an unshakable, mechanical focus. You look at your life through the clinical gaze of an industrial engineer, fully prepared to cut away whatever fails to serve your long-term survival, structural self-reliance, and professional autonomy. During this intensive period, your analytical faculties and execution systems operate with an unprecedented level of efficiency. If your natural cognitive default is to analyze dense data to uncover the underlying order and hidden machinery of the world, this conjunction elevates that ability into a flawless operational shield. Your mind automatically filters out collective hysteria, superficial societal trends, and macroeconomic panic, categorizing them instantly as external noise that has no authority over your personal perimeter. You find yourself possessing a profound capacity for sustained, clinical introspection. You trace your career trajectories, behavioral loops, and psychological defense mechanisms straight back to their developmental roots, such as early family expectations or parental conditioning. You review this data with absolute emotional sobriety, without wallowing in past betrayals or seeking external pity. You audit your past with the detached precision of a forensic scientist, separating your genuine adult responsibilities from the psychological burdens projected onto you by others. You choose to pull your vital resources out of speculative, high-maintenance, or low-yield ventures, reinvesting them solely into structures and skills that offer a mathematically bulletproof return on investment. Psychologically, Saturn conjunct the Sun marks the ultimate fortification of your private citadel and the mastery of the silent, absolute boundary. The Sun represents your visibility to the world, and when Saturn conjoins it, your preference for strict privacy and your deep disdain for uninvited external curiosity are elevated into your primary lifestyle strategy. You realize that defending your choices, engaging in loud arguments, or explaining your trajectory to an uninitiated public is an egregious waste of your vital life force. You enforce your boundaries not through aggressive posturing, but through a calm, unyielding, and terrifyingly polite withdrawal of your attention. You become highly efficient at executing strategic ghosting, seamlessly dropping toxic relative webs, superficial acquaintances, and parasitic professional environments out of your perimeter with zero emotional residue. To fully map the profound, tectonic structural alignment that occurs during the transiting Saturn conjunct natal sun cycle, we must analyze the precise neurological, systemic, and behavioral crystallization that takes place within the deepest bedrock of your vitality and purpose. In the architecture of the psyche, the sun is your central solar furnace. It dictates your cognitive focus, your conscious will, your visibility, and the internal framework you use to project your presence onto the material plane. When transiting Saturn conjoins this radiant point, it acts as a massive gravity well, compressing your solar radiation and subjecting your entire ego structure to an intense pressure test to eliminate all psychological rot, fragile assumptions, and performative distortions. The nervous system shifts away from the fluid, scattered expenditures of energy and settles into a dense, hyper-resilient state of somatic grounding. The internal static that typically causes an individual to seek external praise, tolerate draining environments, or succumb to societal gaslighting is completely silenced. You gain the rare, unyielding capacity to look at your physical limitations, asset balances, and life contracts with the absolute, detached composure of a sovereign ruler auditing an empire's structural defects. The mathematics of reality testing and identity deconstruction. During this conjunction, the universe strips away your ability to rely on luck, superficial charisma, or speculative outcomes, replacing them with a strict system of mathematical accountability. If your cognitive style is inherently analytical, this transit supercharges your intellect, transforming your ability to diagnose systemic inefficiencies into an operational scalpel. You stop looking at what could be and begin working exclusively with what is. This mental and behavioral shift dramatically alters your life workflow. The audit of ego investments. You review your history of ambitions and career choices with total emotional sobriety. You trace every recurring frustration, wasted resource, and toxic interpersonal loop straight back to the precise moment you compromised your own boundaries to appease a parental figure, a relative network, or a social institution. You don't analyze these memories to grieve, you analyze them to balance the ledger, ensuring you never repeat those behavioral debts. The pruning of energy leaks. You view your vital presence and attention as highly finite, irreplaceable assets. If a professional project, a superficial acquaintance, or a domestic obligation requires a high expenditure of your energy for a volatile, low-value return, it is systematically and permanently cut from your daily schedule. You become entirely immune to the emotional blackmail or societal guilt traditionally used to manipulate your time. The mastery of complex systems. Your capacity to process dense, abstract, or highly intimidating data systems, whether that involves intricate corporate contracts, global economic realities, or the deep, mathematical mechanics of advanced esoteric systems like astrology, reaches its absolute peak. You don't just study these systems for amusement, you master them to extract practical, scannable strategies that guarantee your long-term insulation from collective turbulence. Fortifying the perimeter and the strategy of absolute self-containment. Saturn governs the ultimate architecture of defense, the literal walls that separate your sovereign reality from the erratic, invasive noise of the collective. When transiting Saturn conjoins your Sun, your preference for strict privacy and your intense disdain for uninvited external curiosity are elevated into your primary defense strategy. You realize that a loud display of independence or a defensive argument is a symptom of weakness. True power lies in absolute, silent withdrawal. During this period, you master the art of the fortress lifestyle. Surgical ghosting. You develop a terrifyingly efficient, clinical capacity to seamlessly drop out of low-value social networks, draining familial webs, or toxic professional alignments. You do not issue warnings, you do not seek closure, and you do not explain your trajectory to the uninitiated. You simply fade behind an impenetrable wall of silence, leaving zero energetic hooks behind. The cloak of invisibility. You find an immense, stabilizing comfort in working completely behind the scenes. You recognize that information is a vital currency that must be hoarded, and by keeping your physical relocations, financial assets, and daily routines hidden from the public gaze. You protect the structural integrity of your life from external interference. The autonomy of self-worth. Your self-esteem anchors itself completely within the undeniable reality of your own competence, self-reliance, and physical accomplishments. Because you no longer look to societal narratives, romantic partnerships, or external authority figures to validate your intelligence or safety, the opinions and shifting expectations of the outside world lose all power to influence your internal state. Executing the permanent, structural exit. Because Saturn conjoining the Sun marks the definitive death of an obsolete life chapter and the birth of total personal sovereignty, this transit serves as the ultimate, flawless execution window for a total life relocation or domestic migration. If you have spent years harboring a persistent, deep-seated urge to remove yourself from a stagnant environment, to move far away from your current geographic location, or to completely restructure your living situation to secure maximum peace, this conjunction gives you the logistical muscle and cold detachment to pull the trigger. You approach your exit strategy with the calculating mind of a chess grandmaster playing a high-stakes game in absolute isolation. Every financial safety net, legal shield, asset insulation plan, and geographic variable is calculated, verified, and secured down to the absolute millimeter. You feel zero compulsion to announce your trajectory or make public proclamations about your progress. You move your pieces entirely behind a wall of strict privacy. By the time the outside world even realizes you have shifted your position, your new kingdom is already completely built, heavily fortified, and structurally immune to external volatility. When this transit concludes, the unshakable foundation of personal sovereignty you have poured will remain as a permanent, concrete monument to your absolute personal freedom. Subscribe, like, and share.